Hey, I don't know if you watch the show, Oprah show, but would you leave your family and your job for your wife? Interesting question, and what I'm talking about today. I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach, creator of the Hero Husband Project, and the owner of Foundations Coaching. And, most of us don't have to make that kind of decision like Prince Harry had to make, but he chose his wife over his extended family and his job. So, would you be able to make the same thing? If you have a conflict between your mom and your wife, and you want some help with that, then just please get in contact with me and we'll talk about it. But most people have no idea what the forsaking all others wedding vow means. And that basically means anybody who is not your spouse. That's your kids, that's your mom, that's your brother, that's your best friend. I don't care who it is. And it seems that even though we haven't heard a lot of mother-in-law jokes recently, but mother-in-laws can be some real problems. And this is because you grew up in your family. That's your norm. That's all you know. You probably have heard somewhere along the line of, I can say nasty things or beat up my brother, but nobody outside the family better do it. Well, guess who's from outside your family? And your wife has come in to your family as an adult, and she sees things with different eyes. She didn't grow up in your family. She has issues with her own family, and that's absolutely true. But when we go back into our families of origin, we go right back into those old patterns of behavior. We let mom do the things she always did. We let brother or sister do the things that they always did. And our spouses are standing out on the sidelines going, this is crazy. I had worked with a couple years and years ago, and her dad was, you didn't say no to him. He was you do it my way, you do it when I say, you do it whatever. And when they first got married, they would spend every Thanksgiving at the family lake house. And it was kind of like the Kennedys at Hyannisport. They'd all be out playing football and doing all this stuff. It was a big long weekend and everybody had to be there. Well, when they had their son, my client didn't want to spend all Thanksgiving weekend with the in-laws. He wanted to develop some holidays on their own. And his wife got caught smack dab in the middle because she didn't want to disappoint daddy. In some cases, it's daddy. Some cases, it's mom. Some cases, it's your wife's family. It doesn't matter, right? And it also doesn't matter if you see things the same way as your partner does, as your wife does, because guess what? You're not going to. You are not going to see your family the way she does. Now, is she completely right? This is a case where I'm not sure right is the appropriate word to use. Does she have a point? Okay. Does your family, does your mom, does your dad honor the rules that you guys have made in relation to the kids, meaning what they eat, what time they go to bed, or do your parents undermine her and you and what your rules are, right? You might not think it's a big deal, but it's important to sit and listen to her perspective. And it can be really hard because these are the people you grew up with. I get it, right? And for you, this is normal. It isn't normal for her. And if she's unhappy with it, it's really important to have a conversation about what to do moving forward. Again, it's not about right and wrong. She experiences things from your family, right? And nowadays it's really common thing for at a wedding where whoever the officiant is to ask everybody who's present, will they support the union between the two people, the marriage that they are there to witness? And everybody says, yeah, I'll support it, until they don't, right? And sometimes it's not malicious. Sometimes your mother does not mean anything by it. But if it's problematic for your wife, then you really need to sit down and figure out where your priorities are. Your priorities need to be with the person that you promise to love, honor, and cherish until death, right? And I get it. A lot of parents, a lot of moms do not want to let their children go. And they make it very, very difficult. But I sort of kind of have this little rule that you're a real adult when you start not doing things the way that your mom and dad want you to do them. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do them the way your wife wants to either, but it does mean that you are looking at this from a very different perspective, right? That you're looking at this from a different alliance. Okay, and I get it. It can be really tough, right? You know, and you, especially if your other siblings are falling in line, right? It doesn't matter. Sometimes it just takes one of you to go, not going to spend every Sunday night having dinner at your house. Once a month is fine, right? And it also has to do with what you share, right? Do you share things that your wife doesn't want you to share, or that would put your wife in a bad light? And again, you can have these conversations in private with your wife, and you should, right? But not to point out where she is wrong, but to gain a better understanding of what she's experiencing. Because this is your norm. When you go back into your family, it's all what you're used to, right? And I remember another client. He was an introvert, and her family was completely extroverted. And he, at some point in a family gathering, he'd be in the living room by himself reading a book. Well, the message that everybody took away was that he didn't like them, that he was antisocial. No, he just had too much, right? And he needed his wife to support him. And when she finally grasped that he wasn't being antisocial, he just couldn't handle all that people, then she was able to stand in the breach between her family and him. And this is what your job is. Your job is to stand in the breach between your family and your wife. And if you're struggling to do that, then I encourage you to reach out and get help, right? Give me a call, put down in the messages, a comment down in the messages, send me a direct message somehow, and get in touch, and I'll tell you how to walk through this in a way that you feel good, that your wife feels good, and that your mother ultimately will respect. Because hopefully you won't have to move across the ocean and leave your job to protect your wife. But sometimes it might be something that drastic, and the question is, are you willing to do it? And if so, great. If not, why not? And if you want to talk to somebody about it, then please give me a call. Okay? So hopefully that was helpful. And until next week, stay loving.